Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Systematic You. Today I'm excited to walk through a template that I shared online recently on Twitter, and a reflection and roadmap customer asked if I could provide a YouTube video to show how to set this up. This is my Healthier Me template that I put together for 2024. And I know that I love to see the behind the scenes of how templates are made and how the fields work together because it really helps me learn new tools. So I hope you will find it to be helpful for you too. So what you're seeing in front of you right now is my Tana dashboard. I created just a step-by-step teaching outline for what I'm going to walk you through today. So it starts off with the template purpose. So why are we building this? My goal when I made the Healthier Me template was to make a template that I would like to use, a super tag that I would like to use every single day or as many days as possible. And that asked me the questions, or it prompted me to put information that I wanted to make sure that I was trying to track each day or on some regular cadence. So that's the purpose. This template is supposed to help myself and you too, if you'd like to make one, be able to track things that matter to you. Second of all, I wanted to make it easy for both myself and you to visualize the data that you're tracking in a way that helps you see how you're progressing with your health goals. I don't know about you, but there's just something about checking off a to-do list, or in this case, filling in information in a template, in a tracker, that makes me feel like I'm at least tracking my progress, whether or not my progress is always in the direction I want it to go. For example, if it's for my weight, I want it to go down. If it's for my fitness, I want to be able to lift more and go faster with the different things that I'm trying to do, have longer endurance. Those are kind of two different things, right? For me, especially when I'm starting something new related to health and fitness, just the act of being able to be motivated by tracking is really important for me. And I hope you'll find it to be important and helpful to you too. I should preface this by saying at the end of this video, I will be sharing a link to where you can pick up this template if you would choose to do so. Oftentimes, I like to see how templates are made so I can give it a try myself. Sometimes I like to see how they're made just so I understand how they work, and then I prefer to go buy a template because I don't have the time to make it myself, or I prefer not to. So I will share a link if you'd like to purchase the template. I'm putting it for sale for $9, so hopefully that's an affordable price point, and that link will be at the end. But this video will show you entirely how to set this up, so you will know at the end of this video how to make one for yourself, or you could choose to buy mine instead. So without further ado, let's get started. I find it's also really helpful to see what it is that you're actually building before you build it. So let's take a look at the end result. This is going to be the super tag that we start off by building. So this super tag, and I will zoom in to this so we can see it a little bit better. This super tag is going to contain a number of fields, and you can see all of them here in front of you. And all of these fields are specific to what matters to me. So I want to encourage you, whether you build this template yourself or you decide to pick up my template, that you take what you want and you modify or delete the rest. It is not necessary for you to have all of these things. You might have a lot more, you might have a lot less. These are just the things that matter to me and the things that I am tracking. So I'm tracking my weight each day, and I'm tracking whether or not that's up, down, or stayed the same. I also have a choice for if I didn't weigh myself. I am tracking whether or not I exercised, which is exercise status. And I'm tracking what I did for exercise. The photo option, I'm not using that too much right now, to be honest. I may decide to just go ahead and delete that in my tracker, but for now it's there. Right now I'm dropping in, for example, a screenshot of my completed workout because a lot of my exercise routines have some sort of app related to it, so I can take a screenshot of that. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it's what I ate. And dessert, I put that in a separate category because I decided that this would actually help me, because I used to put dessert in with dinner because I don't have dessert at lunch, but I don't have to have dessert with dinner. So I'm putting it in a separate category to remind myself that you don't have to fill in that field. All of the things that say Aura Ring come from my Aura Ring. So I wear an Aura Ring, and this is my third Aura Ring. I've upgraded over the years and gifted mine to my mom, and I do find it really helps motivate me with statistics around things related to my sleep in particular and my activity. The readiness score, I'm 6 is about. It's something that's interesting. It's kind of the readiness score from Aura is a combination of things. It puts together your sleep and your activity and I believe a couple other factors to come up with what your ready score is for the day. I don't put a lot of stock into that, but I do like to see what it thinks I did in terms of sleep and how I slept and how that aligns with how I actually feel. And I do like the total burn and the activity steps. It's a little bit redundant sometimes because I do have an Apple Watch, so I could use that, but I like that it's just all in one place, so it's simpler for me to use that way. So this is what the super tag looks like for the Healthier Me template. Now, if we were to take a look at what we're going to make after we put together the super tag, we're going to be making a Healthier Me hub. Now, the Healthier Me hub, this is a screenshot of mine so you can see what we're going to be building off of. And this has a number of different fields and different views in it. So you'll see that I have an all records view. And this is just a screenshot, so I won't dive into the other views yet. But the point of this is that I wanted you to see that in addition to just a basic super tag template that you were putting together now, you'll also be putting together or using a hub that's going to bring together all of your searches. So all your records, just your stats related to your ordering if you'd like, just stats related to weight, exercise, and meals if you'd like. And I can't emphasize this enough. You need to set this up in the way that works best for you, the way that will be the most motivating for you. So if that means using the same fields as me, go right ahead. If that means you don't use anything but maybe tracking your meals, tracking your workouts, whatever, it's up to you. It's not for anyone else to say what works great for you other than you. So next, let's go ahead and dive in and build our super tag template. So if you recall earlier in this video, I showed you what the super tag is going to look like. I'm going to open this in another panel in Tana so we can keep referring back to that. But what I want to preview is the fact that building a super tag template involves a couple of things. One, it's deciding what you want to track because I like to make fields for most of the things I'm tracking, and I'll explain why in a moment. And also deciding what super tags are going to be related to the things that you're tracking. Generally speaking, although this isn't for everything, most things that I track have corresponding super tags with them. So they have a field where you put in the information and they have a tag where I capture that data with a super tag associated with it. Why? Because I find that it's easier to search and find that information. Anything that you'll see, for example, if I look back at the end result and I showed you that hub just a moment ago, anything that you want to be able to, in a search, come up in that first column as the data point you're searching for, generally speaking, that means that you ought to have a super tag associated with it because this is the search primary key. If you're familiar with databases, you know that usually there's a primary key associated with things. When we create things with super tags, the top level node that gets the super tag is essentially the primary key. So that's kind of how I wrap my brain around it. If I want to be able to create a table that will have that value, like my weight or the fitness exercise, particular exercise, in the first column when I search or I create a table view, then I need to have a super tag associated with it. This will make more sense as we go through it, but that's kind of the gist of what I'm doing here. So I'm going to go ahead and open this super tag screenshot that I had earlier, just in another panel so I can keep that over on the side and I can remind myself of exactly how I want us to be able to work with that. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger with the zoom too, just to make it easier for both you and me to see. So let's start out by creating our super tag. So I'm going to open my side panel in Tana, and I'm working in a new workspace just for my templates called the Systematic View templates. And I've enabled my calendar for the workspace so I can go to today. And I have just a very blank today page. Note, you can make a super tag wherever you want inside of Tana. It doesn't have to be on your day page. You could choose, for example, to go to your schema instead. So your schema is where super tags will appear. If you create them in your day page and you've moved them to your schema or you have it set up so they'll save in your schema, they will be here. You can also choose to make them in the library and move them around. Any node in Tana can be moved somewhere else, so don't get too hung up on that. I'm just going to make it on the day page so that we have a nice place to work with. So starting off, I need to make the super tag. So I'm going to call this Healthier Me. And I'm going to give this node an emoji. Now, this is one of the newer features in Tana. Instead of putting an emoji in the front of my node name here, which is what people used to do, you'd add something like that. You can still do that, but you can also choose to set an icon. And when you set an icon, sometimes it sets it by default. You can just go ahead and change it to whatever you would like that to be. And then when you come back to your day page, I'm on the healthier me again, and I'm going to collapse my sidebar just to make things a little cleaner. I'm going to convert this to a super tag. And the way that I do that is by selecting it, choosing Command K, and convert to super tag. Now, note, when I do that, it got rid of the emoji, but you can set that again. This is purposeful because I wanted you to see what happens. If you do Command Shift click on this pound, you'll have a choice now to click on the little pound that's here, and you see the emojis here. You don't see it here yet. I'll show you what we can do if it doesn't show up the way we would like. But for now, notice that there is still the plant emoji. We're just not seeing it here, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and close this panel and Command Shift click my node again. Now, I need to start adding my fields to this. So if you see on the right-hand side, I have a couple things. I'm going to come back to week and the date from the calendar node at the end. And I'm just going to start off by creating some fields. The first is going to be weight. Now, the way that I quickly add fields is just Shift and the greater than sign on your keyboard. So the sign that it looks like is like that. Actually, can I even make it? Yeah, if I put it inside of quotes, it's the greater than sign that looks like that. When you do Shift and that on your keyboard, you'll create a field when you're inside of Tana. So I'll start this off with, I'm going to create the weight field. If you want to have emojis, I love them. So you'll see I'm always using them. I'm going to add them in the front of my words just because I like how it looks visually. You could choose to have them at the end. It's totally up to you. So I'm just going to search for a chart. Now, because this is weight, and for me, I'm trying to go down, I'm going to use the chart with the downward trends. And again, I am going to put that at the front because I want to have that field like that. This particular field, I'm clicking on the little icon next to it or the little button because I want to set it as an instance type. Now, if you recall earlier, I mentioned that anything I want to be able to have in that first column coming back in a search to create a table, for example, it's going to have a super tag associated with it. So I need to make some super tags. So I like to, as you're noticing, opening up different panels because it gives me lots of different ways to view and work on multiple things at once. So I'm going to start off by making my weight super tag. Generally speaking, I like to make my super tags match my field names, except I make them lowercase. That's just a choice. It helps me when I'm searching for things. I can see the capital is going to be a field. The lowercase is going to be a super tag. So I will select this, and just like we did with Healthier Me earlier, Command K, convert to super tag. Note that when I do it this time, the emoji stays, and that's because I didn't set it at the tippy top of, remember earlier when I went into my Healthier Me on the page and I set the emoji at the top? I'm adding it to the name, and that's why it stays. But now over here, I can choose the Healthier Me, actually, excuse me, the weight super tag because I just created it. So anytime something is typed into this field for weight, so I can do even test, for example, it's going to get a tag as a weight, provided you go ahead and click that option to do so. Now, before I navigate away from here, I'm going to go ahead and close this, and I'm going to make one change to this. So I am going to, with my super tag that I just created, I'm going to give it a style so that it has the matching blue style that my Healthier Me tag does. So when I click on it or when I go into the tag itself, I can go into configure my super tag, and I'm going to give it a blue color. And that's just because I'm going to have everything related to this Healthier Me be that blue color. So again, what we've done so far is we've set up our initial template with our Healthier Me super tag. We have a weight field that is an instance, and anything typed here will get the super tag of weight. Next up, I am going to add my weight plus or minus, or technically it's up, down, or stays the same. So in this case, I am going to go ahead and add another field. So it's Shift and the greater than sign. And I just type weight. And then what I'm going to call this here is +/- and again, it also has a choice for stays the same, but I just call it this in terms of the field name. Now, this field type, I'm going to set to be in options. And I'm doing that instead of the instance because I don't ever need to have my plus, minus, or stays the same in the first column of a table. And then again, that's how I decide how I want to do that. Now, there's a couple ways you can do options. The way that I'm going to show you is the simplest for right now. So I'm going to have choices for a plus sign for up. Now, note if you want, you can do an emoji. It might look a little bit nicer. So I have choices for up like this. I like to choose this up arrow. And note it comes out like a black block instead of the blue block. For some reason, I haven't quite figured that out yet. I use this minus bar for stays the same. And then I use down with the down arrow for goes down. Now, no, again, that doesn't look the same. So that doesn't make me super excited when things don't match exactly like that. So let's see if there's like another arrow I can use that, yep, I can go with that one because then it's like looking a little closer. And actually with this one, if I go to arrow, I can grab the corresponding one. It's the same. It looks like to me the down arrow is a little skinnier, but I guess that actually makes sense with weight too, at least for me. So this could be up, stays the same, down. Now you could choose to put words with this if you want, or if this is enough for you, just leave it like this. Up, stays the same, down. Now the reason why I like to put words is because when you are filling this in, so I'll put consistent and I'll put down. You can type words and I wouldn't want to try to find this emoji each time. Note, I do turn off include auto-collected values as options because if I have a typo, I don't want it to collect the typo and become part of my options now. So now I have my choices. You'll notice if I click here, up, consistent, down. Okay. Next up, exercise details. So I'm going to make another super tag, or excuse me, another field. So again, it's shift and the greater than. And this is exercise status is first. So I'm going to add in, I like to use the sneaker with that. So I have exercise status. And I'm just going to quickly go ahead and make the next field exercise details because I'm already have the sneaker copied into my, actually I don't want status, it's going to be exercise details. Now, with exercise status and exercise details, these are both going to be instances. Again, I might want to have them for some reason in the first column in the table, which is kind of, again, my default for why I choose to do that. So this is going to be a choice, let's see, of a couple of things, but with the instance, and let me double check to make sure I did actually make this into an instance and not options. That's really big. Actually, I made this options. So let me adjust this really quick. It's going to be not an instance. This is going to be options, and this one is going to be the instance. So with that one, it'll be an instance. So with exercise status, I used to have yes, no. And I found that no was really demotivating for me. So instead, I still want to know when I didn't exercise, but what I'm doing is this instead. For my yes days, I'm using the check mark. And yes, for my no days, I am using rested. So it's going to be instead of now, you can choose the emoji. For now, I still have, actually, I think I went with a rest kind of emoji to kind of look like what was resting looking, or maybe plant. I'll just go with a plant. So rested. Whatever makes sense for you. Again, I like to see, yes, I did. I mean, no, I didn't. But when I don't, it's not always because I'm being just a slug. It might just be because I needed a rest day. So take a rest. And I've seen other people use like the yoga emoji for that or whatever you'd like to do with it. Again, I don't include auto-collected values as options because I just want these to be here. So I have my status set up. Yes or no, I rested. Exercise details. This is going to be an instance, and you can choose whatever you like to call this instance here. But again, I like to go with the same names because it just keeps it straight for me. But the only thing I change is like I did with weight, I will make it lowercase. So once I have this typed, I'll do Command K, convert to super tag. And again, I'm going to set this super tag up so that it's blue and it's just all the same color here for my Healthier Me super tag information. So I have my exercise details super tag created. So if I click on exercise details, I can now search inside here and use exercise details for my super tag. So far we've created our weight Field, it's an instance. Our weight up or down, it's options. Exercise status, yes or rested. And our exercise details. Exercise details for me is I'm filling in the name of the workout that I do. And what I would suggest that you do is use consistent naming of workouts. If you often do the same thing, that you would like to be able to over time see how many times you did that thing. So, for example, when I ride the Peloton bike, I do 30 minutes or I do 45 minutes. So, one of the choices that I type in here and I have as an instance is a 30-minute cycle. That means that I can choose that one again and again, and over time, see how many times I chose 30-minute cycle. If every time I were to type a 30-minute cycle with Cody or a 30-minute cycle with another instructor, it would be another instance. It wouldn't be the same one. I wouldn't be linking to the same node. So I wouldn't be able to see all my bike rides unless I wanted to do something a bit more complex and like extend those exercises from a bike exercise. That's the top level. Again, this is about making it simple. So I'm just going to suggest that you have, for example, weightlifting, running, cycling. Maybe have it change if you'd like to say like how many minutes you did it, for example, if you tend to do 35, 45, 60, whatever. But again, if you have a common name, like 30-minute cycle, you can continue to use the same choice. And over time, you can see how many times you selected it. Next up in our super tag template is entering information about a photo if you'd like to include a photo. And again, I sometimes use that to include a screenshot from my exercise of the day. I might take a picture of something I had for a meal. I don't use it consistently yet, so we'll see if I end up keeping it. But this is a really simple field to create. I just go ahead and use the shift and greater than again to create a new field. I like to put in the camera emoji here, and I just type photo. You could also type, for example, inspiration. I don't make this a super tag because I'm just going to put the file here and it'll show up as an image. Next up is when I start to put my meals. So I'll have breakfast. And this, again, I like to use the emoji. So I'm putting it in front of, in front of my words. So that's how I do that. I like to use the pan with the egg, but whatever makes sense for you. This is going to be an instance. So over here, because I like to search easily to be able to see, what did I have for breakfast? What did I have for lunch and dinner? So over here, I will make that into a super tag. And again, I will make that lowercase because I make fields capitalized and super tags lowercase. It's going to be an instance. So again, let's go ahead and convert this to a super tag. And I'll set the color for that on blue. All of these settings that I'm doing can be done later. I just like to do it as we go along now to keep it simple for building. For the fields, I'm going to change this to instance, and I will select breakfast for the super tag. Next up will be lunch. Again, I'm putting my emoji first. I'm just going to go ahead and copy it, add it over here because I'm going to make my super tag, Command K, convert to super tag, set that color to the same matching blue color that I had with the others. Change the field type so that it's an instance, and I'm selecting my lunch. Next up is dinner. And again, I noticed I did uppercase, so I will fix that and show you how to do that. It's really simple. I'm converting this to a super tag, setting the blue color. It's really simple. If you see you named it uppercase and you didn't want to, just go into the super tag and change it to lowercase. It's simple. This is also going to be an instance, so I will change this to instance and choose dinner. Then I have dessert. I have a sweet tooth. I mentioned earlier that I am now putting this in a separate field because it helps me remind myself that it is not necessary to have dessert with every single meal, or at least with dinner. And again, I'll make the corresponding super tag with that. and change the color to blue. And set my field type to instance so that I have dessert selected. So we've gotten all the way through. We have our meals. We have a photo if you'd like to include that, exercise detail status, and your weight, plus down, consistent. Next up, we're going to walk through the remaining fields, which are all related to my Aura Ring tracker. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I use an Aura Ring because it motivates me with some stats and I like wearing it. I especially like some of the newer ones. It's the third generation, I believe, because it has a very smooth round shape to it. The original version had this pointy bump thing on it, and I had it and I was okay with it, but I wasn't thrilled with it. So I got the rose gold one that is just smooth. There is a tiny little, I think that's probably a sensor that's like at the tip of it, but it doesn't have the little bump on it anymore. So I much prefer the style of this one. And the information that I'm tracking every day is related to my readiness, my sleep, my activity, and my total burn, and finally my activity with steps. So I track two different things with each of these. I track a number and I track phrasing. So the reason that I'm explaining the difference is because you might wonder, well, why is there two of each? So that's why I track those for both. So I'll create a field by doing shift and the greater than, and I'm going to start off by creating my readiness. And the readiness, I like to do a bar to kind of separate this out. It's just shift and the key above your return on your keyboard. So readiness or a ring. And then I have a little trophy that I like to use because that just reminds me that it's the score. I also can see that it's a number I'm putting in. I'll show you how you can tell, but I like to put this in the field name to remind me too. So readiness or a ring, that's the trophy. I'm using that for score. It means that the field type is going to be a number. And notice it has this little number kind of looking thing in front of it, but I find that having this at the end helps remind me too. Although actually now that I look at it, I think I'd kind of rather have it over here. So I'm going to put it there. And the reason I'm doing that is because all of the rest of my fields have the emoji first. So that is just a little cleanup for this one. So next I would have my readiness and my Aura Ring for the wording, and I'll show you how that works. So a lot of this is going to be the same. So I'm just copy pasted it. I'm going to do the greater than, and now I'm going to do the tag emoji. And it's just like a little label. It's because it's a word, like a single select of multiple choice box choice, essentially. So I have readiness for my Aura Ring, and I'll create that. And this is going to be options. Now, with my options, I am always forgetting which options I am using for this. So I'm just looking over to my other computer to remind myself of which options I want to use. Now, fortunately, with the Aura Ring, it has the same choices for readiness, activity, and sleep. So one might wonder, well, why don't you use then just the same fields? Well, if I would like to be able to track it across all the values, like I want to have my score and my tag or my label for readiness, for activity, and for sleep, then I have to have three different fields for it. So the options that I am using here are optima, good, fair, and then I have an NA, didn't wear. Sometimes I forget to wear my ring. So I will put the emojis that I use for each. So I use a green circle for optima. I use a blue circle for good. I use a yellow circle for fair. And I use the X for I didn't wear it. And I do that because I like to remind myself if I have no scores in here and I've chosen this, it's not because I forgot to put the data in, it's because I didn't wear it. So I don't have any scores to include. Again, I'm going to turn off these auto-collected values. I am going to go ahead and take these, and I'll show you a little trick because if you've used Tana for any amount of time, you might have noticed that if you copy paste something, you oftentimes end up copying nodes and referencing them. I don't want to do that when I create these other fields that are options. So what I'm going to do is copy the text, and then I'm going to use a screen capture tool that's called Clean Chat Pro. And I'm going to capture the text so that it'll just save me a little bit of typing. It won't capture the emoji though, so it doesn't save that much time, but I find it's a little bit helpful. So I have the readiness for the aura ring. Next up, I have sleep for the aura ring. So I can also keep copying this space bar and aura ring because it's going to be for each of these. So the next is going to be sleep. And with this one, again, it's going to be this little trophy because it is a number. So I have my sleep with the aura ring and it will be a number. And then for my sleep, it's going to be a sleep with a label because it's going to be one of those options like I just created for the readiness. So again, I'll just go up and grab the tag that I used earlier and I'm pasting it in. And this will be, instead of a number, it's going to be options. So if you have something like Screenshot Pro or other things like Text Sniper, you can grab text, for example, like this, select it, but you'll see the emoji isn't going to come in. It just comes in like a bullet. So it's really not saving all of that much time. Unless you found a tool, I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments if you found a tool that can actually copy emojis. I haven't come across that yet. So I'm just going to go ahead and type these because I think it's faster. But I'm adding in each of these. And I like to try to make them match. It's helpful for searches, but just also for the aesthetics of all of it. So NA didn't match as the X, yellow is fair, and blue is good. And I'm also, again, turning off the include auto collected values as options. So now we have our readiness and our sleep, and all we have left is to do our activity and then our burn and our action steps, or our active steps, I think, activity steps. So again, I'm going to create a number field and a options field. So I'll just go ahead and grab my trophy. I'm making a new field with shift and the greater than sign. And this is going to be activity. If you'd like, you can just go ahead and copy the space and the bar for aura ring. I'm creating that as a number field. And then again, I am going to create my final activity field, which is going to be my label. And again, it's for activity. And this is going to be an option field. And I'm using those same options as I did before. And so the options that I'm putting in are going to be optimal, good, fair, and NA, didn't wear. And I'm just going in and selecting the same emojis I do. Command Shift Space is how you bring up emojis on a Mac, if you're wondering how I was doing that so quickly. And finally, I'll make sure to turn off the include auto collected values because I don't want to have them there. Next, I have my activity total burn, and that's a number, and my activity steps. So these are both number fields. So I don't have them on mine. I can see some updates I'm going to make to my template. So I'm going to put the score in again because it really helps me see that it's a number. So this will be activity total burn, and it's for my aura ring. And it's a number field. And this is going to be almost the same. So I'm going to copy it. And this is going to be activity steps. And again, it's going to be a number. So now we have all of the super tag values except for the two I mentioned at the top. So week and date from calendar node. Now, week is optional. This is up to you. I like to have a week field inside of my super tag. I also like to make it so that I can really easily see that in my tables. You don't necessarily need it. If you've worked with views at all inside of Tana, you know that you have choices to group, for example, by created date or calendar date from day. And you'll see that when I create my views. I, however, like to have the week field added on top of that. Now, if you would like to do that, what you need to do first is make sure that in your calendar, you have a day template set up. It doesn't have to be anything in it, but you do need a day template. And note that when you go one level up to your week, you can set a default template for your week, which would have week. So in my case, I'm going to go ahead and I've already created this week template. There's nothing in the week template, but I did make one. So I want to make sure that I use this super tag for the instance. So I'll just go up to the top and I can just hit enter. So I have another space and I will type week. You'll notice that I have, and I've used it a little bit throughout this pop-up workspace. So I have another week field that's here. I'll just use it. If you didn't have it though, you would want to make sure to make it for the first time. And then this is going to be a instance field. And the instance is going to be related to that week super tag. So it's the little purple one, so I can see that it matches. If you have more than one, you would just want to make sure that you're using the right one. So now in the week super tag, you will be able to just have the week associated with your field. So I always end up choosing auto initialize. So what this will do is when I create my node on my day page that has a healthier me super tag, because I already have a week associated with that day, it will auto fill this in. Again, your mileage might vary as far as how you want to use this or not, because Tana does have some ability set up already so that you can just go ahead and group by create a date or calendar date from day, and you can choose day, week, or month. I like to have some extra functionality, so I add this here, but it's really optional. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. I have the week tag that I've added. Note that I can pick that week 2 because it's here. There isn't a week 1 because I didn't have this space set up when I had started making it. So I didn't have any entries in week 1. And finally, the only other field is the date from the calendar node. You don't have to add that here, actually. I added it because I wanted to have it show up in my table as one of the columns. So if you wanted to do that, all you would have to do is shift and the greater than sign and start typing calendar from date from calendar, and you can see that you can put it in. Now, you don't fill this in, it's automatically filled in. So now you have all of the super tags created. The only last step is to go ahead and fill in the title for how you want the super tag to appear. So I'll make this a little bit bigger so that you can again see this clearly. So this is build title from fields. And what this is going to do is it will name every single instance of your healthier me, that first column that you would see in the table, as simply the date from the day node. And that was really great for me. I just wanted it to be super basic. I'm going to go ahead and use my screen capture tool to go ahead and put the text in here, but you're using the $ SYS : date from day node, exactly like this. And this will be, and you'll see in a moment, how you can make a really simple naming convention so everything is nice and consistent across all of your healthier me tracking. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the super tag field here, or the panel, and the panel here. And now I just want to show you if I'm on, for example, today's day. So today is January 11th. And if I was just going to go ahead and type anything and add the super tag to it. So let's do test Command K. I'm going to add a tag to it, and I'm going to type healthier me. Notice it automatically renames it to today, Thursday, January 11th. Note, this only works with this auto naming if you do it on the day page. If you do it anywhere else in your system, so for example, let me make a look in my sidebar, and I'll just go ahead and go into my library and make another page, so like test, and I'll add the tag to it. It doesn't add the super tag. It doesn't change the name to the date because you didn't make it on your calendar date page. If you wanted to be able to make your tracking days somewhere other than your day page, it's not a big deal. It's just that what you would want to do, if I'm back on the day page inside of here, so I'll go back to today and I'll open up my super tag again. What you'd want to do is just change this build title from fields to something else. So I use date from day node, but you could choose to use, for example, date from calendar node. You could have another field in here with a date. There's a couple different ways you could do that. But for simplicity of this demonstration, I like to use this, and I suggest that you create your entries on your day page. So we've created our super tag. We tested putting it on the day page. You can see how the titling works correctly if you make it on the day page, provided you're using this build title from fields format that I've shared with you here. You would just want to change that or turn this off altogether if you don't want it to be that way. Now, what we're going to do next is go through and create a field on our day page where we can easily track for each day. If you recall from the beginning of this video, when I showed you the end result, and we took a look at what your Healthier Me hub was going to look like, I had a screenshot that showed you some things related to what the fields would look like when you had them in your table. I mentioned how we have different views here, and now we're going to go through building them. So I can close our sidebar for the super tag. I don't need it anymore. But what I would like to do next is make my hub. So I'm just going to copy the name of it, and let's start building it. So I will go into my day page. It doesn't really matter where you do this inside of Tana, but I'm just going to go back to day because that's where we've been building it. And I'm going to create my hub. And for Healthier Me, it's going to be a hub. And the only thing that really means is that I'm going to have a more built out view, especially for this super tag. So I'm going to click on here. And in this case, I actually want to set the icon as that plant. So I'm going to set the icon as the plant. And I'm going to remove the emoji here. And then I'm going to start building this out. So first is all of the logs related to that. So if I go back and I'm going to open this in the side panel and I take a look at my example that I have here, it's pretty small, but I just want this for inspiration. The first view I have is an all records view. I like to build out what I want my menu bars to be or my menu labels before I actually get too far into building. So first, I'm going to set up my all records view. Now, I find that the emojis don't always show in the various views, whether they're tabs or sidebar. I think this is partially because the ability to set emojis for a node is somewhat new. It came out in December, I believe, right before the new year. So for now, I'm going to put my emojis into my node name. You can do it however you would like. So I like to have a little pin for all logs. That's what I use there. All records. And then I'm going to have my Aura Ring stats. I'll just put the names for now. Then I'll have weights, exercise, and meals. With my Aura Ring stats, I like to use this black circle that I found recently. There really isn't a ring that's not a diamond ring, so I wanted something to work with that. For weight, I like to use the scale. Notice it's the scales of justice, so I'm always using that for my law school stuff, but there isn't like a weight scale that I have found that is an emoji. Next, exercise, so I put the sneaker again. And then for meals, I like to put a bowl. Whatever you would like to put here. Now, I would like to set this up so that this top level, these are all going to be tabs. So I have all records, Aura Ring stats, weight, exercise, and meals. So if you go up to the top level of your node for Healthier Me and do Command K, and you do View Options, and then set this to View as tabs, you will have, and I have this saved for everyone because I'm in a shared demo workspace, but I'll have all records first, then Aura Ring stats, weight, exercise, meals, and if I wanted to have more tabs, I could. So with the all records, I simply have one view. It's going to be all of my records. So I'm going to convert this to a super tag search. So I'm going to do convert to search node. And I'm going to search for my Healthier Me records. So when I click done, notice it comes back because I created one on that test one, if you recall on the day page. So let me go back to the day page quickly. I made one for today. Now, in order to have this kind of show you what it's supposed to look like, it's helpful to have some data filled in. So I'm just going to put in, a random number. I was most recently 180. So I will add that. I was consistent most recently. My exercise details, yes, I did exercise today. And for me, I'm going to add in my first exercise to this template. So I did Peloton 30-minute cycle. And again, I try to use kind of a general term here as opposed to like with Cody, because I want to be able to reference this every time I do a 30-minute cycle. Don't have a photo I'm going to add right now. I had protein pudding for breakfast. So I'll tag that as breakfast. For lunch, I had an acai bowl. Haven't had dinner yet, so haven't had dessert yet. And I'm going to put some general stats in here. I think I was around 80 today for my readiness. I'll say that I was good. I'm just going to put in some kind of general things that I'm used to seeing. I believe that is fair. Good. Don't hold me to this because I have to check my numbers as far as what it's supposed to be. But the reason I'm adding some numbers in now is just because it's nicer to be able to see some information when you do your searches so that you know it's working right. My burn is usually I think like 1800 to go back and check, and my steps. So I try to get 5,000. So I'll give myself my whole one for today. So I have all of those. Now, if I go back into my hub that we started making, my search. So this doesn't look like much because it's just a list. If I go to view and I change this from list to table and I start to add more information over time, you'll see how this will start to build out. So right now, my display is only showing me the week, the date, my weight, and that's it. Well, I don't always need to see this week here, and I don't need to see the date because it's duplicative from the name because of how I named it. But then what I like to do, and I'm just going to go ahead and hide as many things as it'll let me hide. It always makes you keep at least one, I think. Yeah. So I'll go into my display and then this is my all records. So I like to have everything here. So I will put on my weight first because that's what I like to see. And then I'm going to turn off my exercise status because I've learned that you click them in the order that they will appear. You can click and drag them or move them with keyboard shortcuts, but it's just faster for me that way. So I'm going to add in everything that I want to see, and it's actually in the order, mostly, of how I would like to see things. So I'm going through and showing all these things that I would like to have: my readiness, my sleep, my activity, and my steps. And then I'll put my photo last. So that's how you could see all of the fields that are here. And again, I just keep seeing save for everyone because I'm in a workspace that is shared. Now, this is a view level that only has one search, so I don't have to have any more tabs or change up the menu at all. With the Aura Ring stats, let's make two menus, two nodes, so you can see how you might want to visualize this differently. So first, let's just do a basic table. So I'll do table, and the other one maybe will be, I'll do it cards, and it'll be grouped. So let's have, for example, I'll just call it cards. And my search, now this is a shortcut. If I deleted cards because I'm going to do Command K, convert to search node. And again, this is going to be searching for the healthier me super tag. This is going to be a table view. And then I'm only going to display the things that are related to my Aura Ring. So I will turn them on in the order I want them to appear. So I have all my Aura Ring information. I don't need the date, so I'm going to hide that. And my readiness, this looks good. I could choose, for example, to just show me my labels, like just show me my good, my fair, my good, however I want to do it. You can also choose to expand things, wrap things, however you would like this to visually look. What you can do next is Command K, duplicate, and it's going to make another of the same search. And this time I'll call it cards. And I'll do Command K and view as cards. And so what I could do next is I could choose to go to more, group, and this is where I could do, for example, group by date from calendar node, and I could choose to do it by weeks. And so what that would do is every day for this week would show up here, and I could expand my cards to see the information related to it. I could also choose to group by day if I wanted to. So it'd have every day for this week. I think that's a little bit more useful when it comes to that. Note that you can also choose to display information on the card so you don't have to open it, but it won't have the label. So for example, if I just do that for my weight, it's going to say the number. If I do, for example, exercise details, it'll say that. So the more things you add, it starts to get a little bit busy. And these numbers, for example, don't mean much to me because it doesn't tell me what label it went with. Similar to if I even chose the label fair, well, fair what? Unless I wanted to go into the options and then go ahead and say that, for example, sleep status fair, and then it would show sleep status fair. I don't find it to be as useful here, but that's another type of view that you could have. And now that I have these two views created, I can go up here and go to Command K, show view options, and maybe view this also as tabs, because then I would have my table and my cards that are set up. And I'll save these again. So we have our all records set up as a table. We have our Aura Ring stats set up as table and cards. Next, let's go ahead and set up, we'll do a weight table and we'll do a weight calendar. So I mentioned we're going to do the weight table and the weight calendar. Starting off, I'll just go ahead and type table. And again, I'm going to do it once because I'm going to duplicate it to save myself some typing. And I'll do Command K, convert to search node. Again, I'm searching for healthier me, but I'm going to show you a slight tweak in a second. So healthier me, and then I will do view again as a table. And I could just go ahead, I'll turn off all of the things I don't need, and I'll leave it like this. You could leave your view like this. Or remember, I told you that whenever you use a super tag you choose an instance option in your field, you can put that data in the first column in the field. So let's change the query. Instead of the query being healthier me, I'm going to search for weight. So it's that weight super tag that I created. So now the weight is in the first column. So I could choose to hide this if I wanted, but you'll see why I probably want to put it back in a moment. I don't need weight here because I already have that. And the weight field itself doesn't really have any other data. So if I go in here and I choose, for example, to put anything else on, I would probably put in the date for the created time or the calendar date from day rather. So I turn on my calendar date, turn off the plus and minus, and then I could have it be like this. Now, that's just a simpler view. Like if you want to focus on the numbers first or you want to focus on the exercises first, that's why you might choose it like this. Alternatively, you could again go back to having it. So I'll leave it with this one with having, the healthier me super tag. And I'll have the dates. I don't need that date. So I'm going to go into display and then I'll turn on my weight categories and take off my date here because it's redundant since it's in that primary key first column field. So let's make a calendar for this because I love seeing this on a calendar. It helps me see, first of all, how consistent I am with weighing myself and how I'm doing over time. So I'm going to do Command K and duplicate, and I'm going to change my view. So show view options to a calendar. And then a couple things I need to do first. My date field, it's going to be date from calendar day node because that's the date I'm using. And I'm going to display my weight. So let's first of all do this and display and then weight. So I can see 180. Now note you can go to week if you just want to see it in a smaller portion. I oftentimes will go into display and actually for everyone, oftentimes when I am in this view, I like to choose to adjust how long my day is. So let me save that for everyone. For some reason, it changes it outside of calendar at that point. So I'm going to do show view options and put it back to a calendar. But if I were in a week mode, for example, you can choose to adjust typically the day length. So I could just set this to like 1, so it's not so long. And then when I'm looking at my display, it's just a much cleaner view. So for today, I took this on the 11th. It's actually not coming up for me. Let's see. The date field is, it took off my calendar. So I have my date. You could, Joe, just go ahead and look at it on the calendar so you can see over time what it is. So we have a calendar view and we have a table view. So I'm going to change that from table to calendar. And just like I did with the Aura Ring stats, I'm going to do Command K, show view options, and also change this to tabs. Note, I am using tabs, but you could choose, for example, side menu, like have it this way. And that kind of mixes it up a little bit, however you would like to do that. Next up, we'll go through exercise, and then we'll close this out by setting up our meals too. So for setting up our exercise searches, I like to do 2 things. I like to show myself when I've exercised, and I like to show myself how many times I've referenced an exercise. So let's set up the first one. When did I exercise? Like how consistent am I first? So I'm going to make this as a calendar. So let's do a calendar. And you could also just choose a calendar emoji if you'd like to make your menus a little bit smaller. So I'm going to convert this. So Command K, convert to search node. Again, it's healthier me. And this again, by default, is just a list. So I'm going to go ahead and change my view to a calendar. My date field is going to be the date from calendar node. And I am going to display what my exercise was. Actually, no, this is going to be if I exercise or not. So exercise status. Now, no, I know that it's yes, I exercised, but if that bothers you, you may want to change your options. So it's not just yes. It might be yes, exercised or no, rested, because it's just showing me a yes here. Now, I know that that's what that is. Alternatively, I could also turn on the exercise details because it's more specific there. So however you would like to work that. So that is a search that shows me all my exercises over time, and it'll just be blank if I don't have an exercise filled in. Note, you will have this field here because if you create a tracking healthier me tracker for that day. Alternatively, you could choose to just search by the exercise because if you recall, the exercise type is a super type. So if I go into healthier me to show you the difference, if I search for exercise and it's the exercise details and I do done, you could just have it look simple like that. And note that you have just the exercise details that are there. But I think that that might be nice too. It's just kind of a cleaner view. So I will leave it like this for the template that will be available. Next, I'm going to duplicate this super tag search and I'm going to change it to be a simple table and show you how I like to see how many times I've referenced an exercise. So I'll do Command K, duplicate, and this is going to be a table. So I'll just change my view over to table. And note I have Peloton 30-minute cycle. And for my more, I'm going to go to display and I just have a lot of things I can turn off here. I don't care about the date from the node. I don't care about these things. But what I do care about is the number of nodes, I believe, number of references. Let's see. Now, this is where it's not the perfect solution, but here's what this means. Over time, every time I choose that in the drop down for the exercise details, I will have the count of the number of references goes up, except for the first time. So because the first time it's made, it's just the first instance and it hasn't been referenced yet. So if I had 14 here, I would consider it 15 times done. So it's not a perfect solution. And since there aren't official formulas yet for Tana, that's how I kind of show myself how many times I've done a certain type of exercise. So I have my table and I have my calendar. Just like I did with the other ones, I'm going to go ahead and change my view. So I'll do Command K, show view options, and I'll set this as tabs. Let's close out this training by setting up our meal searches. So for our final search, this is the one that I tend to take a lot of inspiration from, both because I'm looking to eat healthier. So it helps me to see, okay, what have I actually eaten this week or what have I eaten today? Have you ever had that feeling where you get to the end of the day and you're like, I cannot remember what I ate for breakfast? That happens to me all the time. So I find that tracking just really helps me maintain being mindful about this. It also helps inspire me with being more creative with recipes and meal choices and, let's be honest, takeout choices, because I'm busy and we get takeout a lot. So it helps me mix things up because I can see how often we've gone for our favorite restaurant or how long it's been since we've gone with our favorite restaurant, whichever the case may be. So I'm going to set up two views here. I'm going to do a table again and I'm going to do a calendar. So I'll add a table, Command K, convert to search node. And this is going to be healthier me. And I'm going to turn this to a table. And I'm going to change my display so that I am showing all of my meals. And I'm going to have breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, and I'll keep photo on because I tend to oftentimes take photos of my food. And I'm going to turn off the things that I don't need. So I have breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, and a photo. And I don't need my weight, so I can right click and hide that. So I could see over time what I'm having. Now, no, you can also sort, of course. I haven't done any sorting today, but it's pretty straightforward. You just go to more and then sort. And I would sort it by the calendar date from calendar node. And I would do descending if I want to see the most recent at the top, which is typically how I like to look at it. So this is a basic table view. Then I can Command K and dupe it. And let's go to Command K, show view options. And let's switch this over to a calendar. And again, the date field is the date from the calendar node. And for whatever reason, when I pick the save for everyone, it tends to bop it out of that view. but I'll go to my date field, date from calendar mode, and then display is going to be my meals. So this will start to run together a little bit, but I want to show you what it could look like. So right now I've only listed 2 things. I have protein pudding and my acai bowl that I had for breakfast. But it would put that little dot between them so you can just see more things on a given day. You could also make, for example, a calendar of just your breakfast or just your lunch or just your dinners if you're curious about maybe what restaurants you're going to. This is really flexible. I will minimize this. And finally, this is also a calendar. So I'm going to clean that up a little bit. And up with my meals, Command K, show view options. It'll be view and tabs. So I have them like this. So some of the things I'm going to do to kind of clean this up and just make this look a little bit nicer for me is I like to go through and I'm looking at the all records and just making sure it shows everything the way I would like it to. I'm going to set my sort now. So I'm going to go in and do sort. And this is going to be date from calendar node and descending because I like to see the newest at the top. So I'll save that. Then if I look at my Aura Ring stats, I've got a table and I have cards. I'm going to go ahead and leave them the way they are without adding emojis to it. But part of me kind of wants to put the emojis just because I use them all the time. What I will do is I'll go into my sort. I'll add a sort. I'm going to go ahead and put the date from the calendar node in descending order again because I want the newest at the top. And I'll save it. With my cards, I'm going to keep the cards, but I'm going to display a couple things. So maybe I just simply want to see my exercise details and I don't need to see the sleep information. Keep my weight on it because I could see my weight and did I exercise, so that looks good. I have this grouped by the days, which I like. I think I'll go ahead and leave it that way. But note, that could be changed. It could go to group by week, by months, however you want to do it. I accidentally created this extra untitled tab, so I'm going to right click on it and delete the tab so it's not there anymore. Then over on my weight view, I have a table. I'm going to do a sort just like I did with the others. And I'm going to sort by the calendar, the date from the calendar node in descending order. I'm going to look in my calendar. That is set up. I'm just looking at my weight on each day. I'm saving that on both of these. Let's look at the exercise tab quickly. So I have a view for my calendar. Looks good. My table, this is going to just be showing me the number of references. I think what I'm going to do though is sort by my number of references. I think that is an option and I'll do descending order. I think, yeah, because I want greatest to smallest because I want to see which exercise becomes like the most popular thing. So those look good. Don't have any other saves to do there. And then finally with meals, I'm just going to take a quick look. I have breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, and a photo if I wanted to do that. I am saving it. I am going to set my sort. So it's my calendar date. Yep. And it's in descending order. I already have that set up. And I have my calendar set up. And my date field is my calendar. And I do have my query set up to do that tag, just double checking some things here. And I can also, display because I want to turn on my breakfast, lunch, dinner, and dessert. So I could see, in theory, everything I ate that day on a given day. And I'll save it. So that has taken us through all of the building for today. We have created the super tag. We have added the field to our day page, our day template, so that we can easily track on our day page. We've created the Healthier Me Hub. The one last thing that I would probably recommend is that if you have multiple things, you'll notice like in my sidebar, of course, in Tana, you have lots of different things that are going on here. I would recommend that you probably go ahead and drag this into your sidebar so that you have it pinned and you can easily access it. And that's just an easy way. It's a click and drag. If you don't want it here anymore, you can just go ahead and remove it from your sidebar. Actually, I think it's save, delete. Let's find out. What I love in Tana is you can restore everything. So if I delete it, it actually deleted all that work I just did. So I'm going to undo it and not do it there. Because I drug it down here in the library, I just moved it around. So what I'm going to do is undo this so I no longer have it in my sidebar. I'm going to drag it up to the pinned area because I want it to be in my shortcuts, not moving it around in my workspace. So just remember Command Z and Command Y for undo and redo will be your friends in Tana. So thank you for watching. As a reminder, if you would like to go ahead and build this yourself, you have this video here to reference and you can go ahead and put it together. If you would rather just go ahead and have a template ready made for you, the template will look exactly like this. I'll have a couple of different things added with like a banner and so forth, and I will link to this YouTube video for reference, but you'll have the template already set up, and then you can just go ahead and set it up in your workspace. So thank you for watching, and please share comments and questions down below the video, and thanks for your time. Have a great day.